All right, hello and welcome everybody to a bit of a different video today. So I completely lost track of time and didn't realize that Paldea Evolved was coming out so soon, I believe on the 9th. So really coming up here in the next few weeks, and I don't have anything for it. But I do have some cards that I think you guys should be paying attention to, things that I am looking forward to. These are not confirmed for the set, but they are anticipated. So basically we're going to be pulling from 3 different Japanese sets, Triplet Beat, Clay Burst, and Snow Hazard. So those 3 are already out in Japan as far as I know, and that's kind of where I'm getting my information from. Justin Basil. They do all the translations and stuff, what you see on the screen here, and they kind of get these lists together to basically get an idea of what might be on the horizon for us. And if these lists are correct, then we have quite a bit to look forward to. But I've narrowed it down to, I actually don't know how many. I'm trying to get through this because my main channel is requiring a lot of attention at the moment. So I'm going to be doing it in this format so that I don't have to do as much editing. And fortunately, all these are in Japanese anyway, but we have everything translated. So anyway, just going to be doing it like this. I hope that's okay for you guys. But yeah, let's just get into this, and I'm going to start off with some supporters. Now, not everything, even though I don't go over it, it doesn't mean that it's going to be bad necessarily, but I'm either going to be going over the ones that, you know, are getting the most traction, or things that I think have a lot of potential. Personally, things that you should be looking out for. So the first one is Iono. A lot of talk about this one. And this is basically each player shuffles their hand and puts it into the bottom, or on the bottom of their deck. Then each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. So it's a kind of a Roxanne that doesn't really hurt your opponent quite as much, and you don't have to worry about whether or not your opponent has 3 or not. Roxanne has been messing me up a lot in the games that I've been playing lately. But yeah, usually it didn't. I'd always just draw into Professor's Research or something. There's big old memes about Roxanne doing literally nothing. But this is kind of, I believe, N. Basically a reprint of N. If you're playing from, I think it was the black and white, that's all this is. This does have some potential. I'm not sure if you'd want to run it over Roxanne personally, but a lot of people are looking at it. So I'd be remiss to kind of just let it go by the wayside just because I don't particularly see the full potential of this. It's a good card. It's good if you're behind and you want to, push ahead, but Roxanne won't punish you for doing well, like this kind of will. So I don't know if you just want to stick with Judge, or if you want to interrupt your opponent, or I'm pretty fond of Youngster, just so that I'm not discarding stuff but still getting 5 new cards into my hand. Anyway, just one that I think you should keep an eye on, and one that's probably going to be pretty sought after when it comes out. Now, the other one is Giacomo. We discard a special energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon. Now, not a huge deal here, because we're not getting a lot of special energy. I'll go over the ones that we're getting. We're getting 4, right? But these are not going to be coming into any Regigate decks. Lugia's definitely not pulling anything from this, as far as I can tell at the moment. But in the future, when they do add the alternatives for, like what we had in Sword and Shield was Heat Energy, Horror Energy, Aromatic Energy, all that stuff for each element, we should be getting something else, because I believe they've done something for most of the sets where we get that, just not yet. Might be pleasantly surprised, but yeah, we're still waiting on that. Still, once that comes around, I think this is something that it hits all of your opponent's Pokemon. So I think it's a good disruption card, and it's really hard so far to get special energy back. That might change in the future, but it's going to hurt a lot of other decks right now. I mean, you still have Lugia working pretty well with mostly single strike. I want to get it working with rapid strike again, but in any case, good counter to that deck. I don't think we see it quite as often anymore, but still one to keep an eye on, especially for the future. So next, we're going to go into some items. I think we saw it down here. The Super Rod. This is a reprint. So similar to Ordinary Rod, we're going to have shuffle up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. So you're not getting the full 4 that Ordinary Rod gave you, but you can do 3 Pokemon or 3 energy now. So it's strong in its own way. I'm not dissatisfied with this. I think this is going to be pretty good. Obviously, if you're running a single prize deck that burns through a lot of energy and Pokemon, this might hurt a little bit, honestly. But overall, we're finally getting some recursion that can be used on things other than Pokemon under 90 health, because we still have Rescue Carrier, but that's about it. And Miriam, of course, but Miriam, you're using a supporter. It's not bad draw power and recurring some cards into your deck, but still, I think typically people are running Clara because Clara is the supporter version of Ordinary Rod and it just goes to your hand. I don't know if that's going to change people's deck lists too much. Clara is still pretty strong, but you might see this in lieu of that and then people using other supporters in the future. So nothing too crazy there. We're going to look for the Bravery Charm. Why didn't they sort these by items? So we have the Bravery Charm. So the basic Pokemon this card is attached to gets 50 HP. A reprint of Toughness, Cape of Toughness. So things like Entei could be a little bit more viable now. Any Dondozo could be really beefy with this. A lot of potential for some of the single prize or even just the Pokemon EX cards that don't evolve, that they're just EX on their own as basic. So Miraidon, Koraidon, Iron Treads, all that stuff. So just good to see this coming back. Nothing groundbreaking there, but it is nice to have back. So it is coming back. Now you know. Next, we're going to do the Luminous Energy down here. So this isn't a bad card, but as long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides every type of energy, but provides only 1 energy at a time. If that wording is confusing to you, basically it can be any energy. It just cannot be all of them at once. It's not providing a whole bunch just because it can be any of them. I don't know if I made that any easier. If the Pokemon this card is attached to has any other special energy attached to it, this card provides 1 colorless energy instead. So, like I said, Regigate is not going to get anything out of this because as soon as you put 2 on, it goes away. I couldn't figure out. It's similar to Reversal Energy here. I couldn't figure out a scenario for this quite yet, so I'm gonna leave it for later. We'll probably go over it when I do the unboxing next month. But yeah, for right now, this isn't a horrible card. It's nice if you are running, say, some dragons and you don't want to run Lost Zone, and you want to just have this extra card there that can be anything. Can be helpful for that. Otherwise, I think we're gonna have to wait to see anything really interesting. None of the others really play into things that I'm excited about, like Lugia or, like I said, the Regigate, which was a fun archetype to work with. It was just very short-lived because the rotation really killed anything that relied on special energy. So it is what it is. Moving on to Artazon. So we've got Artazon, very pretty there. Once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a basic Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box and put it onto their bench. Then that player shuffles their deck. So I'm forgetting Mezagoza is what we have right now. Very RNG based. The downside to this too is that you're giving your opponent the exact same ability. So it's only basic Pokemon, but it's any basic Pokemon. Whereas with something like Stormy Mountains, that's specifically Lightning and Dragon. So usually it's only helping your deck in a lot of cases. This one is just very general, but yeah, it's going to be a toss-up whether or not you want to give your opponent that advantage as well. So make sure that you're able to, make the most of that. And then moving on, I saw the guy right up here, Squawkabilly EX. At first glance, this one wasn't really that crazy to me. But, so the ability is called Show Off. That might change. Name pending. Once during your first turn, you may discard your hand and draw 6 cards. You can't use more than 1 Show Off each turn. And then we have Psych Up for 1 energy, 1 colorless energy. Attach up to 2 basic cards from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. Now, like I said, it didn't seem too crazy, but it's a nice thing to start with. Because being able to basically have a supporter level of draw, and this is just during your first turn, so it doesn't even have to be that you're going first. But I thought it was neat that you could, you draw into this as kind of probably something that you maybe Thornton into at some point, because you could get the Squawkabilly out your first turn, use its ability, discard a whole bunch of stuff, and then hopefully, I guess you'd have to draw into the Thornton. But you have hopefully some energies in your hand that you're discarding as well. Also having some stuff on the bench, and then the next turn being able to accelerate energies onto them. Maybe not for everybody, but I thought it was interesting, just something to look into that I think some people are going to tech every now and then, or something that you could tech if you want a little bit of early game card advantage. So just keep an eye on that if you really want to. Moving on to Palipper here. Let me find Palipper. Okay. The ability is Rumor of the Wind. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may either search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck, or put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. Now, we don't have Scoop Up Net, which makes this less powerful, but the flexibility of this card is really good, because I know personally having, I like to play, not a lot of people play, but I like to play Banette in my Lost Zone deck because it accelerates two cards into the Lost Zone, which helps with that game plan. But I can then grab another supporter from the discard pile, which is usually my Colress, or you could even get Recycle Your Boss's Orders and all that stuff, which, you need to take up a bench space spot. But if we get something from the something in the future that's similar to Scoop Up Net, where it just goes back into your hand and you can keep replaying it, very, very, very powerful card. I think we'll see quite a bit. It's not as flexible as the Inteleon line because it's not trainer cards in general. It's strictly supporter cards. But being able to on demand pull out a boss's orders could change the entire game. I know it's messed up my game plan several times. Excuse me for that. Next is Noivern, and the ability, the 2 colorless energy attack is Covert Flight. It does 70 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. So this was really strong with the Pikachu VMAX. So you're not doing as much damage as Pikachu VMAX, but you are sparing yourself damage from any basic Pokemon. So, and then we have Dominant Echo. For 140 damage during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any special energy or stadium cards from their hand. So, big disruption card. And the damage here isn't bad, honestly. So, you're still going to either have to play Lost Zone or Arceus in order to have a consistent energy attachment for the time being. But you're going to be able to two-shot most EXs and do a healthy bit of disruption. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing so much special energy disruption right now, because right now the cards we have are just dog water. They're almost useless. So not completely useless, but they're not great. They're not very flexible. It's always just like, here's a colorless and it does a thing. Good luck. But yeah. So I'm looking forward to this. I love Noivern as a Pokemon, so I'm looking forward to using this and just being really annoying to people, because that's just what I do. Ow. I guess I deserve that. Next, we're going to be looking up the redundant Paldean Clodsire. No point to have Paldean in the name, because I'm pretty sure Clodsire does not show up anywhere except Paldea, as far as I know. Anyway, this one I've been excited for because This is the old Garbodor that we had. I forget what set it was from, but it was D-blocked, so it recently rotated out. But it's got the Poison Bog ability, which allows you from anywhere, either main, active spot, or on the bench, during your turn. Once during your turn, if there is a stadium in play, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned. Which I'm guessing the wording there should be, you may poison your opponent's active Pokemon, which is fantastic because we've got the Alolan Raticate from the Pokemon Go set for quite a bit longer, and I've been waiting to bring that card back. I've been trying it out with Lost Zone, but of course Mew never dies for anything, and I kind of lost my will to play with it, but with this on the bench, now you can have your Raticate, you put out a stadium, you poison your opponent's active Pokemon from the bench, your Raticate does its Super Fang or Hyper Fang, puts it down to 1 HP, or 10 health rather, Pokemon checkup happens, 1 health goes, ticks, and or 10 health, whatever. You understand what I'm trying to say here. Pokemon dies. Doesn't matter how much health they can, you can one-shot anything. It's a tricky combo to kind of get going, but man, it's so satisfying, especially in the VMAX era. Oh, just taking down an entire VMAX with 1 Raticate felt fantastic. It felt like an Endeavor Pokemon VCG or VG. Anyway, yep, it felt good. All right, there you are. Ting-Lu is the next one that I want to look at. Earth and Curse is its ability. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon that have any damage counters on them have no abilities except for Pokemon EX. So, not a huge sweep, it's not super broken, but still pretty strong. So Vs are going to get hurt by this, V-Stars are going to get hurt by this, and of course, you've got Land Scoop for 150 damage, only 3 here, which is going to be super easy with the Koraidon that we got in Scarlet Violet V set. Put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So you're going to be able to disrupt anything. Of course, it has to be in the active spot, right? So you're not ruining anything on their bench necessarily, but if they've got something that has an annoying ability and they're going to eventually bring it up, this is a good way to disrupt them and to stop them from, ruining your own stuff. Of course, completely useless against EXs. We'll see how useful this actually is, but I think it has potential. Again, great disruption, and anytime you can take away Pokemon's abilities, you basically have a huge advantage because a lot of decks revolve around these abilities. I mean, I gravitate towards any card that has an ability is big for me because so many strategies can revolve around it and can fall apart because of it. But anyway, we're going to look for Lycanroc EX here. This one surprised me, actually, if I'm remembering this correctly. So we've got Rock Throw, 40 damage, not anything crazy, but for 2 more colorless energies on top of that, does 140 damage. Attack called Scary Fang. During your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, put 10 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So, chance of 240 damage for basically doing nothing. And if you can spread damage around through other channels and methods, then softening up your opponent's Pokemon puts them in a really precarious position to do anything. So, and it doesn't even have to be the Pokemon that it attacked. If this attack was used, if it gets damaged, it deals 10 damage counters back, so 100 damage back to your opponent's Pokemon, which is good. It makes your opponent sweat, which is always what I like to see. I think this could be a very annoying deck, which is why I am very much looking forward to it. So I hope we have some fun with that. Yeah, not really. I barely ever look at Lycanroc as a Pokemon, but this one has gotten my attention. Now, for one that I actually am quite fond of, we've got Tinkaton. And this one has the ability, one of those stinking abilities again, gather materials. You must discard a card from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 3 cards. So, some pretty good draw power. It is a stage 2, but at the same time, you have Special Hammer, which is 90 damage. And if this Pokemon has any special energy attached, this attack does 90 more damage. So you've got a single prize Pokemon with a lot of draw power that can do up to 180 damage per attack for 2 energy. And we do have enough special energy in the set. They're not crazy, you know, but they are there. So yeah, I could see people really going for this. Nothing crazy really with the precursor here with Tinkaton and Tinkatink. But yeah, the Tinkaton seems like a sleeper. I think you can make it pretty good. It takes a while, like I said, to get going, but man, could this thing do a lot of damage while also providing you a lot of good card draw. So keep an eye on that one if you are building a Psychic deck. Kirlia is still probably a better way to go if you want to do Gardevoir, but you could sprinkle a couple Tinkaton in there and see what happens. All right, Dedenne EX. Right here we have Tail Swap. Move all damage counters from one of your bench Pokemon to one of your opponent's active Pokemon. Gardevoir. Just put it in your Gardevoir deck. It's basically put it in your Gardevoir deck. Just take your Gardevoir deck, put Dedenne in it. There you go. And then Wonder Shot. 170 damage, discard an energy from this Pokemon. So you can still do a fair amount of damage here. And if you're pairing it with Gardevoir, just sprinkling this in there. Maybe 2, maybe 3. And you're going to recur the energy immediately with Gardevoir. And if you have a couple Dedenne, just switch them back and forth. If this one gets damaged, hopefully not one shot, but you know, it could happen with 170 HP. Is kind of squishy there. But if you manage to survive, you get them back on the bench. And then your second Dedenne just goes, no you. And yeah, I could see that being a real pain in the butt to deal with, which, as I said before, is exactly what I'm looking for in a Pokemon. And then my boy, he's not the Galarian version, but he is Slowking. Stage 1, so he's not super hard to get out. But we have Profound Knowledge, which does 30 damage, and it confuses your opponent's Pokemon. Not the best disruption, right? But it's something. It can make them nervous. And then you have Wisdom Headbutt. For 130 damage, you may search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So you get free card search and 130 damage. You're not really wiping the board with anything with this, but it's still, like, you've got a lot of flexibility with getting any 2 cards that you want from your deck at any time. So this could be a great supporter to soften up your opponent's Pokemon in the early game, and then get going for your mid to late game by establishing stuff in your hand. You could always get judged or Iono'd or whatever, but still the chance that they're going to run out eventually, right? And he's really healthy. He's got 270 health here, so he's not going to go down super easy. He can always confuse to slow things down a little bit. And yeah, I just think I don't know if he's going. I don't think he's going to be the main spot in any deck, but like I said, I could see him definitely taking a supporter role and doing very well in that role. All right, so Drac from the future here. I completely forgot. I skipped over this one entirely, but this is one of the cards that is going to be fantastic. Basically, we got Spiritomb here, right? And the ability is Pitch Black Disaster. As long as this Pokemon is in play, basic Pokemon V in play, both yours and your opponents have no abilities. And this basically just says, hey Genesect V, see you later. I know that there are probably quite a few more cards that do have benefits with their abilities. None really are as prominent in my mind, as you can probably imagine, as Genesect V with that whole Fusion Strike engine and just being able to draw almost indefinitely. So yeah, just excited to see this card because we had the Klefki, which was good, but you had to have it in the active spot, and if they had a swap or an escape rope, boss's orders, anything like that, then it kind of threw that out the window. So it's good to have another card that just kind of sits there on anywhere, whether it be on the bench or in the active spot, that just completely nullifies those basic Pokemon V abilities, which it's a good counter to, at the very least, Mew VMAX, and I'm just ready to see see that deck go away. We probably have a few other cards that this can counter, so just keep it in mind. It's very cheap, and you have the Fade Out for 10 damage. Put this Pokemon and all attached cards into your hand, so you can, once it's done its job, you can get it off the field. Not a lot of damage there, but it's gone. So, I don't know. Just keep this one in mind. I'm definitely going to be hoarding a few for as long as Mew VMAX is in the rotation. So, in any case, yeah. Back to the old recording. I just really needed to make sure this made it into the video. Anywho, moving on to Chien-Pao. I know some people were wondering when we'd be getting the legendaries, and I believe now's the time, right? So we've got the ability Trembling Frost. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic water energy cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Palkia may not be dead for much longer. It's been very hard because I don't know why Mew still gets to keep their support. I'm still going to complain about it. Doesn't matter how long, but yeah, we lost Inteleon, which I wasn't super fond of the Inteleon line because it just made games drag. But yeah, we also lost Capacious Bucket. So any type of water support is fantastic for me. And then we have Hail Blade, which is 60 damage. It's a multiplier there. Discard any number of basic water energy from your Pokemon, and this attack does 60 damage for each card you discarded in this way. Now, the way to combo this, right up here, Baxcalibur. Stage 2, but we got Rare Candy, so we have Rare Candy, and we still have Irida for a long time. So that's going to get you, that's perfect for water decks, especially that require the Stage 2 there. This one has the ability Absolute Zero. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a basic water energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Active spot, bench, EX, V, no Roblox, whatever. So it's, I think the Frostmoth that we lost was to the bench. But anyway, a little bit more universal, a little harder to get out, but not impossible. So yeah, I think you could do quite a bit. I think water decks are going to start getting strong again. It didn't take long, but I definitely felt it. I cannot get my Palkia deck to work for anything. Oh, I'm so sorry. I miss you, Palkia. Anyway, Chi-Yu. I'm pretty sure all of these except the... Nope, I have Wo-Chien in here as well. So anyway, Chi-Yu EX, Burning Envy is the first attack. Discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. So we got some mill. And then Flame Surge, 100 damage. Choose up to 3 of your benched Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a basic fire energy and attach it to that Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. So, yeah, a little bit of mill, some fair damage, and you're getting fire energy on 3 of your bench Pokemon. So coupling this with, Arcanine or, any other fire deck, really, especially if you've got some Armarouge going on there, able to move those energies around and accelerate really quickly to your other Pokemon. Yeah, this looks like a fantastic, probably a must-have in a lot of fire decks, I would assume. Not too hard to get fire energy. I've seen a couple people play against me personally with fire, Arcanine specifically, and they seem to do all right. But if they can't find those fire energies, then it gets pretty dicey. So, I mean, I guess that's any any deck. You don't have energy, you can't do anything. So, I don't know why I made that point. Anywho, Wo-Chien. Can you tell I don't have a script? I'm rambling way too much. We got this one and one more to go. So, Devouring Ivy. This attack does 60 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has taken. So good come from behind card here. Requires 3 energy, which is a lot. But yeah, it's something that you can throw out there in the late game, and if you got something softened up, right, or even if they've put it out there and they're just not going to risk the prize cards anymore, this guy can take care of it. So we're looking up to actually 300 damage there before you're out. So if they've taken 5 prize cards, you're doing 300, 240 just at 4. So yeah, that's pretty spicy. And then 220 damage, which is good damage. You just need 4 energy, right? So that's tricky. I didn't see anything for grass support just yet, but I mean, it is grass type, so we'll see what happens. But I'm pretty sure it'll have something at some point. Just something to think about though, because being able to attack the bench is always really powerful, as long as you can get around their mana fee, right? And then the last one here is Mewoscarada EX. This is the only one of the starters that I thought was any good at all. Yeah, so for the ability Magic Bouquet, you must discard a grass energy from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and put 3 damage counters on it. So that goes around mana fee, which is very good. You need to get rid of grass energy, which is... Grass doesn't really have any recursion. You could always use Clara, of course, or Super Rod, but anyway. Then we have Nail Scratch for 100 damage. 100 damage plus 120 more damage if your opponent's active Pokemon has already has damage counters on it. So this is basically the grass version of Hisuian Samurai. This is also a fun card, but in EX form, and 310 health. So yeah, 220 damage for 2 colorless energy. Probably not one-shotting anything, but at the same time, I guess this is 220, but it's almost technically 250 if you've used this ability. And even more than that if you've been able to get a couple more. Because this doesn't even take an attack. You just start picking up your opponent's bench Pokemon and smacking them. So, maybe toss in... No, Absol requires the dark... I mean, if you wanted to go dark grass, you could always take that gamble, but not likely. You could still do your attack. But yeah, who knows? It's an interesting card. The fact that these are both colorless opens up the door to quite a few possibilities. But again, if you'd have to want to take that risk of running 2 different types of energy in a deck, which is usually not that great. But who knows? Somebody might be able to figure out how to make it work. I think this is a really interesting card, so I hope you guys can kind of see my rationale there. But that's it for this video. My throat is killing me. I didn't expect to go this long. Like I said earlier, it's a little bit not as high production quality. I need to streamline this process as quick as possible, or as much as possible, so that I can get this video out as quick as possible, because my main channel is requiring a lot of attention at the moment. But I wanted to talk to you guys about this, and I haven't done it before, so let me know what you guys think, because yeah, it seems like you guys really took an interest in the how-to videos and like the ideas behind building certain decks. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and anything that you have questions on, let me know in the comments, and I'd be happy to talk with you about it. Don't feel bad or awkward at all. I'd love to chat with you guys. So in any case, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. God bless you all, and we will see you in the next one.